by what I said, which I think that what it comes down to, a man who can provide, protect, and show that he is a strong leader absolutely deserves a woman who can trust him. And this is, I think, a big misalignment within society where I think deep down women really do want to submit to men. They want to be able, as we say in girl world, just turn your brain off when you're on a date. You don't have to
be in your
think
feminine
about
power,
where you're walking, soft. And you can really, and what I said with the sourdough and nails and stuff like that, clearly you don't understand jokes, but that's just my style when it comes to speaking. I think embracing your femininity, women, because we've been pushed into the workforce and had to unconsciously or unwillingly take on a lot of the male roles, like being the provider, being the protectors, things of that nature, has led women to not be able to embrace their femininity. And so I think in a good relationship, a man will be able to embrace and flourish in his masculinity, and the same with the woman. And whatever that means, being a homekeeper, being a matriarch, being a really soft landing space for her husband to land on, and a good mother, providing that environment.
Okay, so my follow-up question to you would just be this then. If that is the case, and this is what you believe, if you actually wanted men to have the authority inside of society and the responsibility, why would you advocate that women could vote?
Because I think you keep deleting the most important part of this, which is that not every single man right now and at large, there is a lack of strong fathers. There's a lot of things that lead into, and this is not only a male problem, there's a female problem too. There are a lot of factors that lead into men. This is like the man or the bear question, if we get to that, that I think not every man right now, just being a man doesn't inherently make you worthy of being a leader. I think that you have to show that you are a leader, and this is true across the history of the world. Every single shepherd in the Torah, in the original book, was chosen for a lot of their specific qualities. There's a reason why those men were chosen to be leaders. Same with Donald Trump. There may be other men who share similar qualities to him, but there's a reason why he was chosen to lead, as opposed to any random guy that you can maybe find on the side of the street in LA who's catcalling women. I think that men who are worthy and live up to what it means to be leaders and protectors, and also have kind hearts, not softies, but just overall good men, in my definition of it, I think those men are worth leading. And I don't think just because you're a man that automatically makes you a perfect, amazing leader. We've seen that throughout all of society. So
how is this argument not actually contradictory? Because you're saying essentially that you need to reduce men's authority because you don't think that they're in a good position to lead women. You don't think that men in society are good enough leaders, and since they're not good enough leaders, you need to have authority so that.
When did I say? And sorry to cut you off, but
I'm saying this is what.
When did I say any of that?
I'm explaining. This is an logical entailment of your argument. If you say to me, I'm advocating that women be able to vote because there's too many men in society who, if we give authority to, are going to lead me wrong, then you're actually saying that you need to have authority so that you can determine who's a leader and who isn't a leader, that actually is stripping authority away from men. Like, this is the logical entailment. I don't see a way around it.
No, I think you're just taking it how you take it, which no matter how I say it, you're just interpreting it and saying what you want to say. I've said a million times.
What's illogical about what I'm saying?
I didn't say the word illogical. You keep taking what I say and then just changing what I'm saying and then saying, so you're saying this. And then when I say, no, I didn't say that. When did I say we should take power away from men? When did I say that we should take power away from men? When did I say that? Once.
I'm showing you the entailment of the logic. Here, I'll literally break down. Really, really simple. Here, I'll show you. So premise one.
I don't need you to show me. I need you to tell me when I said that, because I'm saying what I say, and you're telling me what you think I genuinely believe, and you still won't address the point. But he can talk over me whenever he wants. But then if I talk over him, it's because I'm a woman who wants to have men removed from society.
Look, I've moderated Andrew tonight. You got to let him finish.
How many times can you tell me what I think I said and what I think I mean?
I'm literally just going to show you.
Keep saying that, though.
Okay, stop. Just go ahead, Andrew.
So it's just like this. Just premise one, men need to lead. Okay. Premise two, in order for men to lead, they need to have authority. Premise three, women need to vote. Premise four, why do women need to vote? They need to vote because men aren't adequately leading, so women need to have authority. That's the entire syllogism. So then the conclusion is men are not capable of leading, so women need to have authority so that they can pick the men that need to lead them. So it's actually stripping authority away from men. I don't know a way around that. Like I'm literally reducing it.
And you still haven't addressed Again, that was not what I said. I didn't say men need to lead. I said they should lead. Ideally, men should be the leaders of society. But I don't think, you still won't address 15 times over. You're telling me what you think I said, but you won't address the one point, which is there has been a decline in what it means to be a man in terms of masculinity, in terms of chivalry, everything like that. Across the board, there has been a decline. So if you agree with me that men are not, and this isn't only a male thing, but just speaking about men as leaders, that men at large, there has been a decline of what men's role in society has been, what they feel to be a man, and all of that combined means that right now, doesn't mean we should take authority away from men. It's the one thing you won't address is that I think we as a society, as women, as men, as Americans, as whatever, should work towards getting back to a place where men and women are more strong and embrace their femininity and their masculinity. And I think that will lead us to a better place where women who can embrace their femininity will naturally approach matriarchy. They will naturally say, wait, maybe, you know what? I actually don't love my corporate job. I know a lot of women who have convinced themselves that being powerful and that they need to work for 30 years and make $1 million and then they'll have kids in their 40s. And then I personally don't agree with that. And I think that if we as a society get back to a place where originally women were not expected to be in the workforce, things of that nature, then men hopefully can recover in whatever that means to them, and masculinity can become something that means more to them and is not seen as like I'm not done. Toxic masculinity, all of that stuff. I'm almost done. You can wait. All of that toxic masculinity stuff has taught men to feel bad about themselves and not embrace their masculinity. So I think the most important part of this is not stripping away power from men or saying women are better to lead. I think we need to focus on fixing that issue, whether it's through strong fatherhood, whether it's through stopping this idea that everybody's saying toxic masculinity anytime a man wants to actually act like a man, opening the door for a woman and a woman gets offended. I think moving away from that as a society will get us to a place where men at large will be better equipped to lead society. And it doesn't mean that right now, I'm not saying if I really meant it, I would say it. I'm not having any secret arguments. I'm saying what I mean, which is the step one. I think ideally men should be the leaders, and the step to get there is to fix masculinity. That's what I'm saying.
So to address, you keep saying I want to address this argument, but the argument was my premise. So the thing is when you say, okay, but you haven't addressed what's going on with men in society and the lower testosterone and the fact that they're not leading as well. But I actually did. That was the premise of my original argument, which is the reason that you see a failure in men in society is because they have all the responsibility without the authority. They have the responsibility absent the authority. So I say, okay, so how do we fix that? How do we fix the idea here that you have additional responsibilities without authority? Your premise here is, well, we need to move back to all of these things, which are preambles to women voting, by the way. That all of these things that you're pointing to, this is pre-women's suffrage. And so I go, okay, well, that makes sense. So then why is it then that you would say that men, right, who have this additional responsibility as leaders, right, you wouldn't want them to have the authority to exercise that responsibility? That seems like it's ultimately what you want. What's going on is you have an actual internal conflict here. The conflict is, I want to be a strong, empowered woman while at the same time advocating that there's a patriarchy. It's like you can't have both.
You don't know that.
Hang on. Either the patriarchy is empowered with the authority to lead, or it is not. And if you say it's not empowered with the authority to lead, women need to be able to select the leaders. You have a matriarchy then, not a patriarchy. You have a second class that has additional responsibilities women don't have, but have a limited amount of authority or equal authority to women. That's the opposite of patriarchy. It makes no sense.
I just don't understand what position or where you're coming from where you consistently think that you know what I actually feel. I'm having an internal conflict. You don't know anything about my values before the show. Maybe you follow me. I don't know. No, you're not listening to what I'm saying. You're saying the opposite of what I say every single time, and that's why it's just so frustrating. I have an internal conflict because I want to be an empowered woman. You're pushing what you clearly don't like about women onto me, somebody that you clearly don't know much about, or you can happily look through my social media.
I'm just listening to your arguments.
And based off of that, you are saying that I am clearly a secret feminist who wants to be an empowered woman. Finally said it right for everybody else, but you're telling me that based off absolutely what? Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Logic. I'm showing you logic.
No, that's not logic. That is you trying to push what you think about women onto me, trying to catch me in something.
I'm just showing you a logical position.
What have I said? Or what have I displayed throughout my life that shows that I want to be an empowered woman where men are on the sidelines and don't have power?
You are advocating that women vote. If you advocate women vote, the entailment is women have authority.
Well, women can vote.
Hang on. I'm answering your question. So if the entailment is that women have authority and equal authority to men, that's not a patriarchy. It's the opposite of a patriarchy. That's no longer a patriarchy. So if men have additional responsibility, right, but they only have equal authority, then they don't have the authority to lead. They don't have the authority to lead because you can negate their authority anytime you want. That's the entailment of your logic. When you say, what have I displayed in my personal life, has nothing to do with the logic of your argument. It's an illogical argument. It makes no sense. Either you want men and a patriarchy, so you want men to have the authority to lead and the responsibility thereof, or you don't. But you can't say, but I need to be equal with them in political status for them to lead. That's the opposite of your own position. It makes no sense.
No, I don't live in a fantasy world. I live in the current world where women do have the right to vote. And if you are advocating for women losing the right to vote, that is something that I don't agree with. And I don't know why you think women shouldn't vote. If I think men should lead us right now, it's not an option in front of me. Should women not have the right to vote? Women have the right to vote. This isn't the 1800s like a lot of people want us to go back to, apparently. This is modern history. And if you're asking me if I would repeal this, no, I would absolutely not. If I think in an ideal society, men should be the leaders of society, yes, but I don't understand why you think you're catching
How do you want them to lead?
How do I want them to lead?
Without authority to lead, how?
Well, why do you think that you said it yourself, that the only reason the downfall of masculinity and all this stuff is because men don't have the authority to exercise their leadership?
Correct, yeah.
That's the only reason that men and masculinity has declined? That's ridiculous. I think that's ridiculous.
It's not. All the things that you would consider. Like if I told you to point to a time where you thought men were strong leaders, you'd point to
the greatest generation that my grandpa's in.
Hang on. You would point to pre-suffrage. If I asked you when were men better men, you'd point to pre-suffrage. If I asked you any of these things, you would point to pre-suffrage.
How do you know? You haven't asked me. This is exactly what you've been doing the whole time. You have this idea.
When were men better men? Tell me.
Yeah,
Answer me. When were men better men? I'm asking you. You want me to ask you? I'm asking you. When were men better men?
But this is why it's just not even like I could go back and forth with you, but everything I've said this entire time, I give you a solid answer and you flip it and say, well, you think this, you think that, because you're just trying to.
When were men better men? Just answer, please.
I don't entertain this anymore.
You want to answer? You're not going to answer
because it doesn't matter what I answer to you. You think you know what I believe, and you're going to tell me what I actually think.
You.
Despite every other question you've asked me, you've had the same reaction, and so I just don't think there's any point of me telling you something, because whatever I say,
you brought it up, and so I'm engaging
I've said
with
1,000 times what I think, and you keep telling me I'm on undercover this, or I really think this or that.
I'm asking you a question. When
okay,
were men
nice.
When were men better men? Can you answer the question? I don't know why we need to do a bunch of emotional outbursts. Can you just answer
emotional
the question?
outbursts? You called me a covert feminist, saying all these personal attacks because I said what? That I think women should vote?
No, I'm giving you declarative statements of fact. I haven't personally attacked you at all.
Okay.
So the thing is just very quickly, can you just tell me when you think men were better men? When?
No.
What's the time period?
I'm not going to.
Of course not. Of course not. Right. Okay.
Can I do it, Andrew?
I can't force her to engage in the conversation, but